be able to learn a lot. Also, it's been in the studio. I guess an activist. This is not a legal person. And somebody who himself going to contribute immensely, to governance issues in this country. Himself will help me help you in these discussions today. And that now, Charlie Israel Williams, barrister. Say hello to Fambo.
Fambo, good afternoon.
Okay. Then I have the voice of Charlie Israel Williams, and again with me in the studio we get the man where they head the Public Relations and Communications Department at the National Commission for Democracy, where he's like now the spokesperson of the commission, and now somebody who is very vast in knowledge when it comes to governance issues, and he only contributes immensely. And that's Reverend Jibril Akagbo. Reverend, say hello to Fambulem.
Fambulem Auduo.
Okay. Thank you very much. This now the team of panelists we go help we talk about the issues. Maybe they bring the program to you. Mina Ibrahim Sirajuba. I go come start with the chairman. Like I say initially, now somebody will get vast knowledge in governance issues. So like, in fact, since we talk about COVID-19 and democratic good governance, I will first of all like for one to explain to family. This word don't become common. Almost always democratic good governance. I will say, this is going to be an opportunity for you listen keenly and know exactly what they say democratic good governance. What exactly I mean, Chair.
Well, thank you very much. If we say democratic good governance, we get two words in the word: democracy or democratic. They'll get good governance. First, when we say about democracy, like a situation where the government where they empower that the people and put on there, and they did it for the interest of the people, and the people then get right in future for Poland.
Okay.
But when the government can have power, not that is stop no more. You not stop no more way election day they put in a power. You get for do things we go and share good governance. Where usually we can talk about the principles like the rule of law, respect for the rule of law, human rights, mitigation of corruption, transparency, accountability, periodic free and fair elections, decentralization, gender parity, you get access to information and freedom of the press, you get ensuring the existence of a private ownership of the means of production, where say you get private companies that exist, the private sector, and you get a situation where you then ensure for say you get vibrant civil society, they ensure for say government they deliver basic needs facilities, you get the open avenues for the person will get work, it will get medical sort of attention, it will create conditions for better education, Then of course you get the one way always government before ensure for say the security forces they under civilian control and many more. So then governance principle here, we just like I say now the oil way we put inside the machine various part for let the machine work. So it's a democratic good governance. You talk say democracy, the government can inside legitimately through election and they get this sort of social contract with the people. Then you get for deliver. When they deliver now, if for make sure say you respect the rule of law, that means in a situation where nobody they not for arrest them unless he break the law, definite breach of the law. And that breach and the court have established them, not to any other person but the courts. They get human rights, respect for human rights. Decentralization, power not for the center no more. If for scatter them all over the country. They of course mitigation of corruption. We know say if corruption, if you don't mitigate them, you don't try for reduce them, it will affect the socio-economic situation of the country. So all anything they make, if country they do them, it's a democratic good governance environment standing.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. If I get you well, I think say like what you try for explain for tell me say when you talk about democratic good governance, now like a way where people all go able to come together and decide what for did before and the possibility before again. What's they do for make sure so at least the people able to achieve what they have to achieve and we get a society will be peaceful and society will develop. Thank you very much for that. Let me come to Barrister. Barrister, Chairman just don't try for explain to you what's now democratic good governance, or what's involved, look at the principles and that kind of stuff. Now, when you get a situation again where you get issues where they affect the people, you understand? Like the issues that we get right now across the country. You don't say the government gets something for do and the people themselves get something for do. What if you say really now the role of governments for really, try for like ensure that kind of thing when they talk about good governance, democratic good governance. What if you say will be the role of one way they are the helm?
Okay, thank you so much. I think say for chairman in analysis, they find out say clearly established what you can call the social contract. Okay. That the people they elect the leaders through democratic means, and then when these leaders come, they assume power, then for deliver. I talk about delivery, but you see sometimes and not all term government will able do certain things according to how the people expect them, because governments get constraints. You know, we always talk about the means. How you will ensure, like Chairman talk about, for provide the basic facilities, the thing that will make people in life better, like we can talk about health education, you know, then primary things then they. But governments can get challenges because resources not available all the time, and you can say it's scarce. But you ask a good question, you say how government will ensure say, then keep in touch with the people and make sure say the people they understand what thing they happen. You know. So for me that aspect there, now we can see say lacking. Sometimes it can tell like a gap there, sometimes they can tell like say communication gap there. The people not clearly understand what thing they happen, what thing government they do, and all of that. Quite recently I listening radio where you know a lot of studies and research outcomes, and they out now where they look at concerning the country. One way we see quite recently now that, for example, how people understand the role of the representatives, the roles of parliamentarians. Because if the people they expect one thing and then another thing they happen, that in itself means say there is miscommunication, we don't understand we safe. And if that's not the case, the people always go be unsatisfied. So this issue of let the people understand, because the social contract not just end at electing the leaders, voting them into power, give them entrance legitimacy as Chairman say, but it go beyond that. It go towards how the people themselves they support government for succeed. Okay. But if this disconnect day, if we can call this dissatisfaction day, then the people you know even they see say they get to go for play for support government for succeed. Okay. So all of them things they are, we need for understand them and ensure say it happen properly in society, so that at the end of the day the state now ain't go win.
Okay. Thank you very much. The issue of gap in communication between the one that we in the lead and the one that we lead, now a very crucial component in the governance process. You get the person the head communications at the National Commission for Democracy, Reverend. I would really want to make it come into that, because like what's in charge they say, when there is communication between the two, maybe the understanding go there and you get able to exactly what they expect from this. What do you feel say supposed to happen in a democratic good governance with respect to communication, especially between the government and the governed?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. The question so important that I want for anchor on something. Okay. Probably listening to what Chairman say and Barrister say, give probably my unworkable definition of good governance. Again, take one word which I will deal with communication effectively. Me see good governance, or democratic good governance, as the management of public affairs in the context of law and order established on the principles of legitimacy and consensus. Now, the word, for now, I'm not going to dwell on legitimacy. I will dwell on the issue of consensus. Usai, you get a clear-cut line of agreement between the one that way they rule, the governors, and the one that way they rule, the governed. Yes, the governors and the governed. Now, in every aspect, for make it get the democratic flavor, there for be that kind of interaction between these two groups of people. Now, the essence of communication come inside. We mean say, for make we attain consensus inside democratic good governance, constant interaction for the between the two categories of people, the one that would they lead and the one that wouldn't they lead. Okay. Usai you get that breakdown in communication or miscommunication, terrible problem go there. And waiting on the happen over the years for we make sure say we establish that line of communication, and the fact say government says we set up institutions there. We say and you always get feedback from the people. That when you take into consideration the three arms of government, the legislative arm, the executive and the judiciary, they all get ways and means how they interact with the public, and how they ensure say they get feedback on a timely basis. Well, the issue of timeliness now at times can be a problem. In fact, now make the aspect of responsiveness in government operation is so important. How governments they immediately understand what people need and then they respond to the issues they need. Because at any given point in time in the governance of a state, you will get government getting your agenda, or they say the government will in power. And we see like with this existing arrangement, we will change government in 2018. We talk about new direction. We talk about waiting education for development. You see, so the priority there. So, but we've always established a means wherein government they constantly get feedback from the people. That even when laws are made in relation to waiting our government to focus for that particular period, for instance, in a parliament, the parliamentarians, they are representative of the people, they for find ways and means for make sure say people know what happen and get them response for make it provide a feedback into whatever law then they want to make. I can recall we went to Karina recently. The sitting MP, now the constituency is 0664, the complaints about distance and the fact say enough even resources not there for make you set up a good office who say you ensure the right feedback from the people so that the people they communicate to them through the office, instead they communicate to the people through that particular office. We need that kind of situation across the country so that free flow of information go there. Because a key element also of this democratic good governance, now outside the people they participate, what you call positive participation. But if they are not aware, you not get a mechanism where you put in place for ensure say that kind of flow of information they don't contribute effectively to decision making. And the people supposed to contribute effectively to decision making on an ongoing basis, not just that one term where the whole election you can you solicit me vote. But even when you don't sign now, for make your performance legitimacy be effective, for the people for be fully involved. Okay. We want to forget how history they operate. In the country, colonial period, we see some uprising them based on the fact say people were questioning certain tax system where they exceeded the levy. Take for instance the oil tax war. But the real concern was, how can you ask us to pay for something when we're not participating in it? That was the actual concern. Well, of course, people don't misconstrue over time, but bring it into current realities. You want for make when you tell the people and say do this, then do them based on the fact that governments are self-responsive to the needs of the people. They understand that, not so just the felt needs, not so just the passive one, but the actual needs of the people based on the fact that constantly there is a machinery in place for soliciting that kind of feedback from the people. Now, so smooth operation today in the effective communication between the governors and the governed.
Okay, I think a very good analysis you give. And one one major challenge where you highlight in that respect, now like resources, and Chairman can always talk about the political economy.
Definitely.
So like I'm bringing the Chairman can say something.
Yeah, you know, definitely when we talk about democratic good governance, what it will help we now any country we will get better governance, good governance, excellent governance. Now where the resources and we always say the democracy is hinged upon economic development. But we find ourselves now this other side of the world, we don't get better resources, and we always think say government now will be the provider of everything. And this not to so it will be. It will be a sort of collaboration with the people. They are not the state. Now the people are the state. So if you can get a people who are lazy, we don't want to work, an economy where no they export things for get foreign exchange, an economy where they help for the people and get other resources them, where government can divert the get them to education, to good roads and other areas. You find out for say now a problem down there. So the economy is for develop, and what we say government at times they get constrained. Just like when my brother William Stockham aptly say, not to all things government will give you. Truck one box but the unshort. Why he unshort? Because of the limited resources, which is why any government, for it be characterized as democratic good governance, democracy yes, they will not elect them legitimately, but for good governance coincide, let people sit down for say, yes, this state to a day, I get me education, I get me good health, I get good roads, I get access to employment, and other things where mortal man need, then the resources, government will go out for get the resources, and government for make sure, say, they encourage the people them, for let them work very hard, for let them go able, help the government. Because people them, not the government, but people them now, see, they just want the 10,000 or 12,000 people away, then at the government, now they for provide everything. No. Now the people then they work for provide for the state. Without the people, no state, no day. So if you not get good people, if you not get hard-working people, for let them push the economy before, then, we not go get better thing. Why people they sabotage the economy? Why people then the corruption day? When you make corruption, it affects other side. So it affect payment of salaries. It affects good roads. It affects good hospitals them. You don't get the state-of-the-art hospital because the money where they for spend publicly, some few people line their pockets. So all that they show for say, for achieve democratic good governance, it will be a collaborative effort on the part of the people and the government itself. Government for direct, and the people for make sure they follow what in government say, for let we go sort of become efficient and effective, and therefore we will be sustainable in whatever we do.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. Well, I think from what you try for say, because like you tell me say, the people get a very critical role to play.
Yes.
For support government, especially when it comes to paying tasks and also support government in other areas.
Exactly.
Now I go on for really ask, now we come to the topic proper. I really want to ask now what's at the impact of COVID on the democratic good governance. But before we start that discussion, I want for maybe just look at the chairman in statements. We listen to his statements then before we go to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens and all, today marks another International Day of Democracy, a day we observe based on the United Nations General Assembly Resolution of 2007. Since its inauguration, September 15, 2020 marks the 13th anniversary of the International Day of Democracy. Unlike other years, today's observance is happening in the face of a global health pandemic that has impacted seriously on every aspect or sphere of human existence. As the head of the National Commission for Democracy, let me take this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President and the government of the Republic of Sierra Leone for the leadership role played towards the fight against COVID-19 with very commendable results. Let me also salute the citizens of Sierra Leone for being resilient in the face of threat to the global health pandemic and for the compliance to the public health emergency instituted by government to prevent the spread of the disease. As we observe this day, we also want to remind each other about the significance of the message of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as the foundation for assessing democracies globally and nationally. Speaking on the theme, COVID-19, a spotlight on democracy, the UN chief has noted that as the world confronts COVID-19, democracy is crucial in ensuring the free flow of information, participation, and in decision-making and accountability for the response to the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, taking my cue from the encouragement provided by the UN chief, on this day, I call on every well-meaning Sierra Leoneans to work in the best interest of Sierra Leone and ensure that the dividends of democracy are made available to all, regardless of their orientations and backgrounds. As we continue to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, we must strike the right balance between rights and responsibilities and employ the principle of proportionality in the implementation of the emergency laws or regulations on the foundation of the rule of law and in context of constitutional order. Ladies and gentlemen, despite COVID-19 pandemic, we still have a national duty to shine a spotlight on our democracy as we use this day to assess the state of democracy. You will all agree with me that we have come a long way in the consolidation of our democracy. Yet still, we have enough grounds to cover as we consider the various levels and strata of democratic consolidation, from the institutional, representational, behavioral, and civic cultural perspectives. Let me also hasten to say that there is still room for improvement, with the need for state and non-state actors and all stakeholders to make a determined move in consolidating our democracy on the foundation of legitimacy, nationalism, and patriotism. Let this day be observed with a consciousness of the need for continued national dialogue in addressing the challenges to the consolidation of our nation's democracy, with the need to focus attention on building a robust political economy that can stand the test of time. It is therefore incumbent on all to observe this day with a reminder that we have a responsibility to collectively stand against corruption, intolerance, violence, injustice, and sabotage, in addition to hate speeches, as we make Sierra Leone a better place for all. Please spread the message and help all to know that NCD is rolling out several activities throughout this week in the commemoration of the International Day of Democracy for 2020, as we shine lights on democracy in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my statement by urging fellow citizens to exercise the vital instruments of political tolerance, national unity, and cohesion as vital ingredients in the consolidation of our democracy, given due consideration to our different ethnicity, political parties, regions, religions, tribes, and related variables. We must brace up to the reality that we have a common destiny that is anchored on the ideals of our public seal, the national flag, and the national anthem, as we make a sincere pledge to uphold the best of our beloved motherland, Sierra Leone. Long live democratic good governance and democratic consolidation. Long live political tolerance, national unity, and cohesion. Long live a Sierra Leone that is founded on constitutional order. Thanks for your attention, and may God bless you and bless our beloved motherland, Sierra Leone. I thank you very much.
That are the statements of the chairman for the National Commission for Democracy, where he put out on the day of democracy, the International Day of Democracy. Chair, while he make his statement, you say, as the world confronts COVID-19, democracy is crucial.
Yes, well, you know, say COVID now, something we have to do with a lot of restrictions, particularly so when you try for like combat a particular disease like that, where we go say so airborne or contagious, you go for restrict the movement of the people. There are certain democratic principles that we go for violate, but then me feel say a necessity in terms of real politics, because if you don't do that, then you don't go able for you go combat the disease. And again, certain things and they way government go do like state of emergency. When they go to state of emergency, you find out for say certain freedoms would be curtailed, and that under normal circumstances you go say it is against, you know, the rule of law, democracy itself. So, but we for make sure say we put on to round, and Guterres the type of tell we say, despite where the COVID-19 day, we for ensure say we get relative freedom, we get everything in terms of relativity. That means not that we cut above everything, but definitely impact democracy, because the individual, when are the agent, where in get the main activity in politics, you know, it will be affected. One, you know, get time for go work no go day, but I see say 10 day we now the limit we hours, but we they get pay. What man country serve, that's so the same thing. In fact, they get some fund where they go get the poorest among the poor for let them go hungry. So all that thing and they waiting they happen. Now it help for further, you know, democratic good governance in the country. But definitely COVID affect the people, it affect the socio-economic, you know, aspect of the country. But for me, now a necessity, nothing way we go for put up to as a people for level able sort of combat this bad disease. We don't kill thousands of people.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me say no more. The COVID gets in challenges, and in challenges they affect democratic governance seriously. Not only the country but across the world. Barrister, make a come in. Now let me look at the impact of COVID-19 on the democracy in Sierra Leone with respect to the emergency powers.
Okay. Yes, you know, COVID-19 don't get so much impact on with democracy, like which they say, when situations like this happen, you know, the aspect of freedoms are curtailed, and it will happen in a way that, I mean, it's not the best, but government get to take action.
Okay.
Because government in action also can be problem. But in as much as we talk about that aspect of government for be proactive, we can use the law, and we use that aspect of the rule of law or law and order for ensure say government sets in own action for, you know, curtail freedoms and all that thing, and they also for be guided, you know. For example, now we get state of emergency where we president been declared for 1 year, 12 months. And you listen properly, you will see that there are some voices saying 12 months is too much, you know, and all of that. So you also want to look at the impact of some of them things then they, I mean, I remember then the way people they advocate for 14 days lockdown. Some people even may talk about 1 month lockdown. Now all of these things, yes, then good, then get their own good side, but they also get downside, because some of them see ourselves the impact on the economy seriously. Remember how they talk about bread and butter issues. You go find out during COVID-19, especially at the initial stage, prices they go up because you been get this speculation say things will get worse So some man go for buy, for save, food and all of these things. So the impact enormous. And then Tia, I mean, then they touch the lives of people so much that, let's say for example, we get inter-district lockdown for a very long time. And you get people away in non-belief, saying that only when they move from one district to another, go buy market, you know, and go able to foster trade and also get their livelihood. So when you close down the country, say you cannot move from this district to another for 1 month or more, it means that person in livelihood therefore come to a standstill, to a halt. You know, so yes, we've seen all of these things. And then this issue of accountability. You know, most times in Africa, we would observe that in the midst of crisis, when people are in difficulties, when people get problems, and then they some man the better. You know, sometimes and then he say if some man not die, some man not the better. That kind of approach, that kind of philosophy, and that make this issue of from even Ebola coming to Corona is very important for the people where they handle resources, state resources, whether na donor fund, whether na grant, whether na aid, whatever it is, whether na from consolidated fund, them money here, them resources here, we need for ensure say we be accountable so that people now continue for belief say if some man not die, some man is better. Yes. And then all this they boil down to the economy. Okay. Like when they talk about the health system, Corona, like what we don't see now, they get series of health situations now globally. We also for ensure say we pay attention on health system so that situations like the world will be able to address them. But if the economy weak, then a problem. And in fact, one of the speculations initially where Corona surfaced, that it will be worse for Africa. Africa not able to withstand. But you see, by divine intervention, we don't see that happen, and we just hope say it not be at all. Okay. So the impacts are many. The last thing I want to talk about now that in this democracy, COVID they affect what they call the politics. They affect the politics. Okay, because we they see situations where maybe in Sierra Leone we don't see much of it, but we see situations that some country where, for example, elections be done due, then postpone. We see some situations where because elections are due in this COVID period, some countries say no, therefore go ahead. We for do campaign for this, we for do all of that. So we they see all of them things then they impact and they enormous. Okay. And this one nothing will go continue for talk about because the pandemic not done yet. In fact, quite recently, I think yesterday or the day before, we see 15 new cases. So I mean, this thing is still with us, and we continue for the see the impact.
Thank you very much. Definitely a very good analysis. Reverend, when you talk about challenges, you talk about the many impacts COVID gets on democracy. Look at the economic aspect of look at the political aspect of and also look at the restrictions. So what you will say about that, especially when it comes to some of the laws, where really they restrict people, from so many other things.
Thank you so much, Monito. Me, don't categorize the impact using 3 L's. But of course, we relate to democracy and talk about the laws, how they operate. I talk about the impact on lives, livelihoods, and lifestyles. Of course, we don't say because of the health situation, many people don't die, globally as well as nationally. They will see how it impacts the livelihoods of people. We can look at that from the perspective of economic rights. Someone lost job, someone not in business close, all of that gets something to do with the economic rights of people. But then we see also some lifestyle adjustments need to be made, and particularly on with democratic lifestyle. You get freedom for move around, for associate, assemble, but all of them things, and because of the COVID situation, we see the restrictions. And now in our own country, we get practical example of the fact say we don't institute emergency laws, and that's enough for tell you say the times are not normal. But what thing we really want for make conscious effort for establishing, and the fact say even when we use emergency powers, we for ensure say we still use them within the context of legitimacy. Okay. And that is why in a democracy we get a National Assembly. We also call them the House of Parliament. The executive in invoking that particular law day, now within our constitution, if always they work in concert with Parliament for ensure say it continue for the legitimacy. And we notice say throughout this period, although they get tension between Parliament and the executive in terms of the handling of the emergency, but in fact we need for take 21 days or 90 days, etc. We have those issues. But even as we talk within the context of democracy, we always get this approach for always make appeals. We can always make something better. If it was not better, we can still make them better tomorrow. So it's better late than never. So that the people will not say, even when we're under emergency, those regulations are still legitimate because the people that wouldn't send for represent them, they are aware of them and then give them assent to it. Okay. But when you get that mismatch, you can make room for plenty questions, and we want for avoid so many questions in the governance of the state, insofar as the rights of the people are concerned, and how they make with laws and or regulations, even in the emergency. I think mention was made about the fact that we had passed it into law for say 12 months. Some people, of course, continue for complaints. It's too much. Probably we can make them 3 months or six months. Become you renew and back, that kind of thing. But be that as it's made, that we don't do inside now. The appeal go always continue for say, not for apply the principle of proportionality. How we the roll out or implement the laws, make citizens understand say we get both rights and responsibilities if we ever maintain the right balance, given the fact say what will they deal with now a public health emergency situation, and it gets where if we not handle them carefully, it gets where it will give you on backlash. But thankfully, we don't say Barrister mentioned that by God in your grace, it don't help we. There are people who in the background they've been doing their spiritual work, praying, fasting for ensure say escalate or explode as people may their message. So we thank God for that. But make we also self-play with your own role for make the restrictions they're not too cumbersome. Make the people able to breathe fresh air within the context of what we experience, and we can able to achieve we get opportunity for always review the things that we do, because laws then we make them now for certain condition. At times laws can be time bound, so you want to come back and say, okay, we've been doing this for this number of weeks or this number of months, but let's see if we can come back and review them. Also we need to make adjustments, and we've seen that happening over time. You notice say, I think mention was made of that. There was inter-district lockdown. Several things may happen. We don't ease some of the restrictions. You have others that are ongoing. Probably there's also need for we take time for review them and see if we still need them or not, so that we can be able for change and reduce the thing that should go along. Not forget say, even WHO don't tell me say, COVID we might live with it. So what you need for doing that for ensure say we prevent them to the barest minimum. Somebody may mention, say that just like it's become, if you say it was something that was going to be handled in a quick fix manner, but it's still with us. and life is going on. So more look at how we can be able to maintain the right balance even with the COVID situation, so that the restrictions then we democracy can abort, we not see too much of them happen.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, say you just get for the guests that come back and forth. Like you talk about communication, you get for the communication with the people. You did the research, because the government's got the institutions where they do the research and get information and maybe act on that. Chair, what's really feels to be the way forward?
Well, the way forward for me, I think Sierra Leoneans therefore continue for sort of upkeep or obey the rules. The washing of hands, non-shaking of hands, and for make sure say, you know, they listen and adhere to the medical expert them, because me as he say COVID unpredictable, because I look even at the developed world. Today they will say it better, tomorrow we even say hundreds of people and don't die. It don't affect them back. I see some states in America, if I now say they open up it, look Canada, up till now, Canada no open up it. No person they go school there yet, self. You understand? And then country and they feel say get good medical care, and nothing happen health wise. So me, I tell Sierra Leone and say, let we not relax. Because now I see them buckets and say, people them, they just enter building now, they need to wash their hands again and sanitize their hand. So man, if you to say, because COVID don't lessen, it don't done. Just like putting reference say, nothing way, something we get for live with. But if we get for live with them, still for take the precautions, for make sure say, you know, we reduce them to the barest minimum as a country. And if we do that, I think say we gonna help God for let the thing not become, you know, too much of a serious matter, because definitely, you know, outside those days when even somebody died, now people then go better no more, or something you know, like I miss so now my mother, then they will bring him Modicam. Outside that, let them better. We for love for let them bring him Macam, I can't better at all. So all on the COVID, you know, affect me psyche. But I got to put up to that for say now an act of God. So anything we then put in place for let we minimize them, I think say we as a people we should accept. We're not for taking them say something otherwise. Now it's sort of a force majeure. We can't do otherwise but for obey the rules and regulation. You see. Okay.
Thank you very much, Chair. You advise people to make them strictly, take note of the precautions. Charlie, before we come to the studio, we don't get some sort of 2,126 cases and 1,740 we don't recover and 72 deaths. So this thing's still there around. So what's the advice we give to people?
Yes, and you know the interesting thing now that as you relax the regulations, as you relax them, you get one notion, you get one kind of message where they send to the public. And that makes you see they talk about the importance of communication. Let we know at this stage, begin for left handle, you know, begin for be slack. Then tell the communication for even they go higher and they touch more people. Because as they open up the country, now so it will they send message to itself like say, this thing don't go all thing, because now they talk about school they can't open. In fact, some schools don't open. Okay, so we also therefore pay attention on that aspect. Okay, for ensure say the education continue, we sensitize with people, we tell them say yes, life will go on, but we need for take. If you notice right now, security personnel say they go around this country and then they arrest people now. Then they arrest them for mask and all of this. So they see that they happen. So now we continue then kind thing then they for let we people themselves know say in as much as we open school now, we don't say let church them begin keep services. We don't say let burying happen. Okay? We for ensure say we get now the back of we mind say COVID still there.
Okay.
That is very important. So that communication thing they will not forget them. And the last thing we want to talk about now the fact say accountability. In as much as we not get resources, in as much as we country not don't up economically for being independent yet, we want for continue for say we dey keep an eye on accountability, and anti-corruption commission wey na in dey before and this fact we dey call upon them for ensure say dem do good service to Sierra Leone and save this country, and let them not dip and pick and choose. Let them do am properly and ensure say we reduce, because chairman talk strongly about corruption when he give you the opening. And of course, this issue of corruption, management of resources, the little we get, is very important, even at this table we face COVID.
Thank you very much, Reverend. What's the message from Family?
My own concern, the fact say we get what you call conspiracy theories where they go the rounds. Make we try to address those issues. I don't know, me not think it's possible they will go reach bad for young people. So we are faced with the reality. We will see the happen around other countries of the world. America, India, we see in fact there are two the compete that they take first in terms of the highest number of cases recorded and number of deaths. But we now, this part of the world, especially in Sierra Leone, we get some people who are still in denial. Feel say, not just money making business. More not treated that way. The which man say, or the one that will land can say, teaching time saves 9. Or try, or make sure say, we contain them. A complete quick on the country, more continue with development of the country. Because we don't see the impact development, and the fact say, for make we even interact with partners outside the country, that's a challenge. So more fight, more try. In fact, if there is a battle we must fight, it is this one. Not to the other battle of people and the allude to.
Okay.
And make we try to push we country go before. So I don't get a lot of catching up for you.
Thank you very much. Make sure to push your contribute before. And you also say something we are going for reiterate. Is teaching time saves 9. I think so we really need for try for fix the issues. Don't allow the issues for overcome or begin for shout and do some other things when necessary. Thank you very much, Reverend. Family, the program we will listen to a special Ncd Hour program will come to you, courtesy of the National Commission for Democracy. And today we will talk about COVID-19, a spotlight on democratic good governance in Sierra Leone. With me in the studio, I've been the chairman of the National Commission for Democracy, we have Dr. Abubakar Hassan Kagbo. I've been with me barrister and solicitor Charlie Israel Williams, an activist, and I've also got with me the Public Relations and Communications Director at the National Commission for Democracy, Reverend Jibrila Kagbo, and me will moderate the program, Mina Ibrahim Sirajba. Until we meet again, stay blessed and make sure say all the precautions what you take for prevent or avoid the spread of COVID-19, make sure say for stick with them and follow them to the letter. Thank you so much. Until we meet again. Goodbye.
National Commission for Democracy, na salon so we dey talk about positive participation in governance na salon. National Commission for Democracy, na salon so we dey talk about